Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the I See Old People podcast. This is Dr. Bruce, your host, and the I See Old People podcast is a 10-year examination of aging between the ages of 60 and 70. We are almost 5 years through, as I'm going to be celebrating my 65th birthday in November. So the program has gone well. In fact, this is our 70th episode. Who would have thought? I want to thank a couple of listeners who tuned in this month. I had two listeners, one from California and one from Georgia, who downloaded practically my entire catalog of podcasts. So that was quite a thrill, and I hope they enjoyed it. They went way back. In fact, I was on a trip this month, and I listened to a few of my older podcasts, and I listened to one right when the pandemic started, and I can't believe how sucked in I was by it. I really believed it when it first happened, when the pandemic was first announced. I had my wife making masks, and I was concerned about social distancing and and washing my hands and not touching my nose and not touching surfaces. A lot of my advice is just crazy now that we look back and we realize that it was really just a rebranded flu, and there was really no anomaly there at all. The same type of thing happened every year for the last 700 years. Coronaviruses have been recorded in history in Europe for 700 years, so it's nothing new, and nothing new happened in 2020. But of course, I certainly woke up as we moved closer and closer with almost a year of no therapy to treat this pandemic, and just this rush towards vaccines. So that's when I woke up, and certainly the tone of my podcast changed considerably after that. I've got a big day coming up on Thursday. I don't want to talk too much about it today because I don't want to jinx it. It is going to be my 4th anniversary of sobriety, of not drinking. But I don't want to talk about that because I think it really is a jinx. Every day is so important just to get through every day, and I've still got the rest of this week to get through before that celebration. So I will talk about it on Thursday, and I'm excited to actually do 2 podcasts in 1 week. So I did want to talk a little bit about my trip to Thunder Bay. I took a drive to Thunder Bay. We had a service for my mother. My mother died a year ago, and we brought up a memorial stone. I brought up a memorial stone that I had made down here, and brought it up, and we placed it in a nice spot in the cemetery. Very, very nice. We had a little service, and it was nice. I drove up. I love driving up to Thunder Bay. The north shore of Lake Superior is just absolutely beautiful. I was honored to see 3 moose on 3 different occasions. I saw 2, one at a time, down underneath the road in the water that is often on both sides of the road when you're driving through Northern Ontario. But the 3rd one I saw was right out there on the road. It was like right on the shoulder. I actually slowed the car down, and I tried to stop enough to get my phone out to take a picture. But as soon as I slowed down, it just hightailed it right into the bush, and it was gone in 2 leaps. Boom, boom, and it was gone. But it was such a thrill to see it, and I love going to Northern Ontario. I love that drive. The views are just incredible. If you've never done it, do it. The drive from Thunder Bay to Sault Ste. Marie is one of the nicest drives in Canada, and I think that anyone who does it would really enjoy it. Just don't do it in the winter. I would never travel that road in the wintertime. There's too many hills, there's too many steep hills, and I would hate to be on an icy road on that road. But it was great. Thunder Bay is slowly inching out with 4-lane highways out from its perimeter, but it's going to take 100 years to twin it all up. There are a lot of passing lanes along the North Shore, so you can get by the trucks, and a lot of the trucks use the northern route, which is a little bit flatter, and I think they save gasoline. It might be a little longer, but they save a little gasoline. I am down here in beautiful Norfolk County. Norfolk County's nickname is Ontario's Garden, and it certainly is Ontario's Garden, especially at this time of year. You see the fields are full. We've already had a crop of asparagus. Asparagus is still going to be coming for another couple of weeks. Strawberries have started. They just started last week. And then pretty much everything comes, onions, sweet peas, snap peas, beets, just name it. Everything. We grow everything except citrus fruits. We don't grow lemons. We don't grow peaches. We don't grow limes, lemons, peaches, oranges, right? Nobody in Canada grows oranges. You have to go down into the States to grow oranges or lemons. But we grow watermelons and cantaloupes and muskmelons and just name it. You can find it in a market in Norfolk County. So Norfolk County, beautiful. This time of year is just wonderful. I've got my own little garden planted. I went to containers a few years ago, and so I have some tomatoes and I have some hot peppers. Actually, I was last year I was up in Thunder Bay, and my friend was growing really, really hot peppers, and he gave me a bunch of those peppers. I dried them. I kept the seeds over the winter, and I planted a few of them. So I have 6 of the super hot peppers, like the ones that win awards. They're so hot. So I don't know what I'm going to do with them, but just fun kind of growing them from seed. I grew some wisteria from seed. I grew some sunflowers right from seed. So yeah, I've got some beautiful sunflowers, about 10 of them growing. 6 or 7 tomato plants. I've got an eggplant, a bunch of peppers, some broccoli. I mean, really, you can grow anything. And I've got a beautiful sunny spot there in the corner of my yard that just is wonderful. Oh, and basil. I've got lots of basil because I really like pesto. And I could buy all that at local markets, but it's fun to do it yourself. I didn't do much today. Today is cold and rainy and very uncomfortable for this time of year. For being June 10th, it's quite cold. It feels like a fall day. Something kind of funny has been going on with me. I read a lot. I try to figure out how to fix this tinnitus because, this podcast was supposed to be about my health. And, my health is really, really good compared to when I started. When I started, I was quite a bit heavier. I was having lots of bowel problems. I'm pretty sure that was from drinking. And I was having lots of depression problems. I'm pretty sure that was from drinking. But again, I want to talk a little bit more about drinking on Thursday. But right now, 5 years into the program, all of those things have settled down. I'm very, very healthy. I have some arthritic pain, but I'm going to be 65 soon, and it's not unexpected. And the tinnitus is just driving me crazy. I also suffer from a little bit of plantar fasciitis, but plantar fasciitis, which is pain in the bottom of your feet, and that's a pretty new symptom. If I wear the right sandals and the right shoes all the time, then I can pretty much keep it under control. It just takes one time wearing the wrong shoe or something, then I end up and I'm sore for days. So to the point where I have trouble walking. So that's an issue, but it's certainly handleable. The tinnitus is the worst. It just keeps getting worse and worse. And so anyway, one of the things I was reading, of course, what I'm doing. I got rid of all the fluoride in my diet, like from toothpaste and from tap water. I'm taking chaga tea regularly. I mean, it's super bitter, wicked tea, but you put a little honey in it, and it's really not that bad. And I listen to tonal music. Okay, so it's a different frequency than most music because I cannot hear and understand the lyrics of modern music or even classic rock anymore. So I listen to tonal music, which is very soothing to me, and eventually my brain just starts hearing the tones instead of the tinnitus. I sleep with a fan in the bedroom. Like right now, this room is just filled with a big hiss. And this morning, my tinnitus was kind of whooshing, which is kind of new. So that's been tough. I went to the specialist. The specialist said, "Don't worry, everything's fine. You're just aging. This is a normal thing." But I just can't help but think that I could influence it or change it in some way. So I continue to move in that direction to try to give myself some relief from this tinnitus, although I've really mitigated it really well. I've figured out a lot of ways to live with it. When I was up in Thunder Bay, I was with a lot of really quiet talkers, and that I realized, how much I'm missing hearing. But anyway, it's what it is. Eventually I'm going to get hearing aids, but the hearing aids I've found are going to be useless against the tinnitus. The tinnitus is a different issue altogether, and I was really banking on the hearing aid helping the tinnitus, and it's just not going to be the case. So I'm going to move forward on the hearing aid, but I am not going to rush into it. Right now I have a lot of things in place that allow me to function in the world, and I am certainly starting to do that. I'm getting to the point now where I'm going to apply for my old age pension. I got a note from the government saying it's automatic. They're just going to start sending it to me when I turn 65, and then I can also start to apply for my CPP, which is the Canada Pension Plan, which is something that you pay into automatically. You don't have a choice in Canada. If you work in Canada, you pay into the CPP, and your employer pays into it at a matched rate, like 1.8% of whatever you pay, they pay. So the CPP is kind of a joint effort between you and your employer. And then at the end of your working career, like I am, you start to collect it from the government. So I'll collect it because I don't have a pension. I didn't have a job. I was self-employed, so I never had a job that gave me a pension. So the CPP is kind of the pension for working men. Everybody has it. It's often extra if you have a pension as well, but it is going to be my pension. So I'll collect the CPP and I'll collect the old age benefit, and that'll help us get by. And you don't spend as much money as you get older anyway. Our big trip every year now is going to be down to Punta Cana, and we just need to collect the money to do that, because once you're down there, you can live there very cheaply, and it's quite enjoyable. So that's about it. My health is good. I'm alone a lot more than I ever was. Like before the pandemic, I was much more active. Of course, I was working. One of the things I miss is going for lunch. I miss going for lunch. Used to do that quite often. At least twice a month, I'd meet a colleague, meet a friend. We'd go for lunch, and now hardly ever go for lunch, ever. Just kind of eat on my own and eat here at home, and I don't tend to go to restaurants. It's different, when you don't drink either. Sometimes it's easier to go into a bar and sit at a bar and have a bite to eat and have a beer, which is something that I used to do quite often, but I don't do that anymore. And there's an old saying in AA about like you got to get a new playground. So I remember when I first quit drinking, I would go to a bar, like I would go to the Boston Pizza, which is a bar here in Canada, and where you can eat and watch sports. And I would go in there and I would have a tea, and I'd have a soda water. And, of course, the look of sadness on the bartender who was used to serving me beer all those years. And, just this, like, why are you even here kind of thing. And, I still did that because I didn't know where else to go. But over time now, because so many years have passed, I've found some new playgrounds. I found some new areas, new fun, new things to do. I do a lot more with my hands. Pretty handy. I like to carve wood, and I certainly like doing these mandalas, which are a lot of fun, which are take about an hour to do, and you got to really concentrate. And they're like stones that are painted with intricate patterns. So those are the kind of things. I do my crosswords and all of that. But, summer, usually a time I just enjoy being in the backyard and taking in the sun. And but not today and not yesterday. Cold. This has been a cold spring, and it's been a wet spring. So hopefully that's going to change soon. Well, anyway, I got a big day coming up on Thursday. I'm super excited, and I am going to talk to you then. I'm going to talk to you this Thursday, and we're going to talk about what it feels like to, after a life of drinking, to be sober for 4 years. So that's going to be my next podcast, my 71st podcast, but this is number 70, and here we go. We're almost halfway through. And, if you've listened to this point, I love you and I really appreciate you. You take care, and you guys have an awesome few days, and I will see you guys on Thursday. I almost forgot. I didn't tell the duck story. I wanted to tell you what happened this spring. It was just wonderful. We had these ducks that kept coming into the cover of our pool. They kept coming, swimming around. There was a lot of males, there was females, there was fornication going on, there was mating dances, there was all kinds of things happening. And that was fine. We just thought there's nature at its best. Then a few days later, we see the female, and the female is in the crook of the tree in our front yard, about 6 feet up. Very visible, not very visible. If you knew she was there, she was visible, but really no one would know she was there. We did some research. It looks like they brood for 30 days on their eggs. So we went ahead and watched her and protected her and made sure she was okay. And every morning my wife would go out about 5 in the morning. My wife gets up very early, and that's the only time that this duck would get off of her nest, and she would come over to the backyard where the pool is, and she'd take some food from my wife. So every morning that was going on, and she was in that tree for 30 days. Then one day we see an egg at the bottom of the tree, broken. Okay, and we look up, and there's a little duckling right up beside the mother. And then things happen very, very rapidly after that. Only about 3-4 hours later, because we went out, when we came home, the nest was empty. All of the eggs in the nest were cracked open. The one on the ground was still there, and the duck was gone. The duck was gone with the babies. Anyway, there ended up being 7 babies. So where do we find them? We go in our backyard. They're in our pool. So because we had opened the pool in the 30 days that she was brooding in the crook of the tree. So she's in the pool, and we go ahead and just live our life, and she goes in and out of the pool. But the ducks then, the 7 ducklings can't get out of the pool. They start to panic. She can jump in, out, and they can't get out. So a few years ago, we had some squirrel deaths in our backyard. Same reason. They went into the pool in the spring when they couldn't get out. So what I bought was this little ramp. It was like a little ramp. It's a squirrel saver. So I put it in to save the ducklings. And, it took a while, and we had to kind of push them towards it with the skimmer that we skimmed the top of the pool with. And eventually they got to the little platform that's in the water, and then they started walking up the little bridge that brings them up to the surface. So that's about 8 inches, 9 inches. So that was great. Once they figured that out, they went in and out of the pool with the mother. They walked up this little ramp. Then the mother, this happened all in the course of a day. And then the next day, they're still there. In fact, they slept right right beside the pool. All 7 of them slept underneath the mother, under the wings of the mother. The mother did not move. She stayed in one spot all night long. The next morning, she started going back in and out of the pool, walking around the yard. The ducklings would follow her, walking around the yard. Finally, there was this little step. She would walk up to a step, jump up on the step. The ducklings eventually all figured out how to jump up on the step, which is about 4 inches. And then they kept going, and they kept doing this all day long. So then, at around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I just happened to be outside. Thank goodness I was outside. But Mama there jumps the fence. She flies over the fence. The 7 ducklings go under the fence. And all of a sudden, they're walking across my front lawn. So I call into the house. My wife's in the house, and my granddaughter's at my house as well. So it's just wonderful. I said, the ducks are leaving. The ducks are leaving. So we were all run outside. We open the back gate, and we start following Mama and her 7 ducklings. And they beeline it down the street, straight down. Boom. They cross the street. They go down all the front lawns, all the way down on the opposite side of the street. They get to this one particular house. They turn left. They go through the 2 houses. They go through these 2 houses. They go down into a gully, and they go right into this forested area in behind, like she'd done it a dozen times before. And those little ducklings stayed right on her tail, and they ended up. And then they were gone. And then that was it. So we saw the mating, we saw the brooding, the nest, we saw her training them, and then we saw them go off into the wild. It was just wonderful. I really wanted to share that story because there were a few tears from my granddaughter. So, oh my gosh, they're leaving. But that's nature, and that's what they had to do. And we were there to witness it, and it was just wonderful. Okay, so that's my duck story. So now you guys can go. Okay, so thanks so much for listening. And if you listen to the end, you know I love you. So thanks a lot. And we'll talk to you on Thursday.